All right, baby, in today's video, I'm gonna share with you the 3 biggest mistakes that I made as a beginner powerlifter. Now, I've been in this game for a long time. I have a 1,050 kilogram powerlifting total. That is 2,315 pounds. I've made all the mistakes you can think of, and today I wanna save you the hassle and the frustration of making those same mistakes yourself. Let's get it. You've all heard the term up the dose, right? Well, that's exactly what I did. Okay, I was really hungry to reach a certain number by a certain day, a certain competition, right? I was really in a hurry to achieve that progress. Got that goal, that desperation, which is good, okay? But then you see how the steroids thing can happen, right? You can go from here, having these goals, having the desperation, to taking extra risks, right? And you can see how all this can become your identity, all right? It's a part of poor mental health and poor regulation. And welcome back to your mum's favorite channel on YouTube, Cult Strength. Now, for today's video, right, I'm gonna share with you the 3 biggest mistakes that I made as a beginner powerlifter when I started this sport. Now, the reason I wanna share this with you is because these mistakes didn't affect me only physically, they also took a massive toll on my mental health. Now, I believe there is so much information available today that you shouldn't have to make the same mistakes that I did and that so many others have as well. Now, I have a lot of skin in this game. I've been in the sport for around 10 years. I have a 1,050 kilogram powerlifting total, and I've made almost every mistake that you can think of, so you don't have to. You know that I'm here to help. You know I enjoy making this content, so I hope you enjoy this, and I hope you get something out of it. Like this video, drop a comment, and subscribe, baby. Let's get started. All right, baby. Now, the first mistake, one big mistake that I made when I started powerlifting, right, was that I was focused on the wrong thing. My focus was on progress, not process, right? Let me explain. My fixation was constantly on chasing certain numbers because let's face it, right, I'm a competitive person and I'm sure many of you are too. And being competitive is a fantastic thing. Don't get me wrong, it's excellent to have that drive. But when you focus too much on a certain number, right, you start chasing and chasing and chasing, what happens is you overreach. From a programming perspective, we overreach and we start to perform these movements and then we start to execute our program poorly, right? We use bad technique, we use bad judgment, and in the end, there's bad execution. So by focusing on the progress that I was making, as in trying to progress to a certain point by a certain time, I stopped focusing on what I was actually doing, the process. What you need to become passionate about is every little detail in your training. Become passionate about the process that it takes to achieve your goals, to achieve the progress that you are chasing, okay? So my advice to you is that if you're starting this sport, or if you've been in the sport for a little while, that you maybe step back and take a look at how you're approaching things. Are you focused too heavily on achieving a certain number? Now, in saying that, I'm not saying it's bad to have goals. For example, I want to reach a 420 kilogram deadlift, right? That is a goal. But I'm not hyper fixated on the 420 kilos. What I'm focused on is executing my program, my nutrition, my recovery, my technique, and all of that, right? Executing it to the highest degree so that I can ensure that progress. If I was to simply focus on that 420 kilograms and not focus or pay attention to every little detail that I'm actually doing in the meantime, I'm not going to achieve that 420 kilograms. That's not how it works, right? Your goal should be to be constantly improving in the smaller sections, right? So constantly be improving your nutrition, improve your recovery, improve your technique, stick to a program, right? Whether you have a coach or not, find a good program and stick to it. Stick to the guidelines with RPEs and percentages and don't overreach, okay? Make your main focus the movement and enjoy it. Have fun with it. Enjoy the progress that comes with it, don't get me wrong, but just fall in love with the action of training and the grind and getting up every single day chasing those goals. Fall in love with that. Stop focusing so much on the final product, because reality is you're gonna reach that goal and you're gonna be unsatisfied still. That's the fucking game. You're always gonna want more. So instead of being disappointed later, just love what you do. That's the best advice I can give you when it comes to that. I hope it helps. If you agree, if you have some thoughts around it, let me know in the comments. Like this video and subscribe. We'll be back in a minute with number 2. All right, baby. Now, the second biggest mistake that I made as a beginner was, let's call it a reliance on steroids, okay? Now, I want to start with a disclaimer again. This is not an endorsement of PEDs or steroids. I'm not saying you should do them. Anybody who makes that decision, it needs to be well thought out. You must do your own research and you must talk to a professional. I want to be very clear on that, okay? Because you can do some very silly things and you can make some really bad mistakes. And I want to explain the mistake that I made. Now, this ties in to the first mistake as well, as focusing on the progress instead of the process. With steroids, I became dependent on them in a sense. If I didn't feel like I was going to achieve a certain number by a certain date, you've all heard the term up the dose, right? Well, that's exactly what I did. Okay, I was really hungry to reach a certain number by a certain day, a certain competition, right? I was really in a hurry to achieve that progress. So the mistakes that I made, it was like taking shortcuts, right? Now, I'm not saying, because I'm going to be completely honest with you, I'm not saying that it doesn't work in the short term, okay? Upping the dose of PEDs can have an excellent effect when it comes to your strength, but you've also got to keep in mind that comes with a hell of a lot of downside as well. And I want to explain that, okay? These days, I'm a little older, I'm a little wiser, I'm more mature, and I've learned some lessons, right? I've definitely adopted the mindset that less is better. When you start with less, okay, it's really easy to simply make small increases here and there, and you will get maximum benefits from that, okay? What happens though is if you are too aggressive too early and you take too much, we essentially flood our receptors, okay? So you end up trying to take more, but even though you're taking more, you're now getting less from it. And what you are getting is generally going to be side effects. Now these side effects, as I said, are not only physiological, they're not only physical, they are mental as well, okay? When you abuse PEDs, you are abusing your own mental health. I descended into some very dark places during that time, okay? I didn't have the knowledge that I do now. There's plenty of information out there for you. I'm sitting here fucking telling you to not make these mistakes, right? I didn't have that back then, okay? I was told something by someone and you might trust the wrong person and next minute, you're really fucking yourself up, okay? So don't become attached to this like it's everything, okay? If you're gonna use it, it's a tool. It is a tool in your belt to help you achieve your goals, and that's how it needs to be used. It is not the main source or the main driving factor towards your progress. It can't be, and it isn't, okay? And when you start thinking that it is, and you start upping the dose every time you have a bad session, or you're feeling like you're in a slump, what you're actually doing long term is the opposite. What's going to happen is those steroids are no longer going to work the same for you. You're not going to get the same strength benefits. You're going to end up taking more, and you're going to end up descending into chaos, into the void. Okay, and there's certain compounds as well, such as trenbolone, the infamous one, right? That is guaranteed to send you insane. You're going to feel like the fucking Joker. So I need you to understand that you need to really think about these things and make an educated decision on that. Okay, so don't go jumping into PEDs and going overboard and getting overzealous. Learn from my mistakes. Go slow, go steady, or don't do it at all. That's also fine. But if you do, make sure you're educated and be smart. So start with a little bit. You can always add a little bit more later. But if you go and fucking throw it all in the bucket and you've got nothing left, right? It is what it is. And it may seem self-explanatory. It may seem obvious, but it really isn't. and there's a young generation of guys coming up that are really hungry and really determined to achieve their goals, and they're willing to take these shortcuts. But I promise you it's not worth it, okay? I'm a big guy, I'm a tough guy, fucking whatever, right? I've been through this, I've been through that, and I'm fucking telling you, it is absolutely not worth the sacrifice to your mental health or your physical health. So look after yourselves, be sensible, be educated. If you have any questions, please drop a comment. And of course, like this video and subscribe. You're the best. We'll be back in a minute. All right, baby. Now we're gonna cover the third mistake that I made, and I feel like this was probably the biggest mistake. But before I do that, of course, a quick plug to myself. Now we have the God Killer 36-inch wrist straps available again now. They sold out originally. We have them in, of course, all black. We have them in all white. We have the 2.5 meter God Killer knee wraps. We have merch. We have caps. And of course, we have programs, squat, bench, and deadlift. And if you haven't yet, of course, make sure you like this video. Make sure you drop a comment and make sure you're subscribed. Now, the third mistake, my friends. Now, this one's important, okay? I'm gonna tell you why. I feel like this is a combination of the first two, and they've merged in to a big ugly head, and this is what happens, okay? And the third mistake I made is that I allowed my powerlifting, I allowed my strength to become my identity, okay? And let me explain that, and it's gonna be very obvious to a lot of you, I think. Now, you see it on Instagram a lot, okay? You see people who literally live and die by who they are in the gym, okay? Who they are depends on how strong they are and how they're performing. And I understand that as a competitive person with goals, right? And how that ties into the first two is obviously the progress over process. You know, we're thinking too much about a certain number or achieving something by a certain date, okay? And then you come to number two, you have that desperation of progress. So what do? We start to ramp things up and take some more serious risks with PEDs, okay? Because we're trying to achieve that progress. And ultimately, it's because we have this identity that we're forming based off our value, or what our perceived value is in terms of how strong we are, okay? So, for example, if you are feeling really strong and you're comparing yourself to others and you're feeling really good about it, right? You may see yourself in a really positive light. But flip that, okay? Let's say you have a bad day, and that happens, right? We have bad days, we have slumps, we have rough patches. And the same thing happens except the opposite, okay? We start to really descend, and you can start seeing, you know, a lot of depression and a lot of bad mental health start coming out in people when that identity issue comes to the forefront, okay? And it eventually will, unless you understand it and you can get a hold of it, okay? Now, first you must understand that your value is not dictated by the strength you have in the gym, okay? This is the fucking gym. At the end of the day, yes, it's important to us, it's lifting weights, but there are things that are more important than the gym. You know, your character and who you are, and the value you provide to the people in your life is far more important than the gym, okay? And that should come before any of that. Your identity should be based around, I believe, that, not how strong you are. That is just an aspect of you. It's fucking awesome to be strong. I love being strong, and we joke about things, and we have fun, we have a laugh and all that, okay? But at the end of the day, I know in myself, I'm far more than just Reese who lifts weights. I'm far more than Colt Strength, right? This is an aspect of me, this is a part of me, but me as a person, there's much more to me, there's much more value, and I can bring a lot more to the table than just that. But I realize that now. For a long time, I didn't realize that. And my value was hanging off the edge of my performance. If I went to a meet and I did poorly, I felt like a shit human being. I felt unworthy, I felt unvaluable, and I felt like I wasn't capable, right? And then that leaked into my personal life. I was depressed, I was low energy, I was angry, I was sad, I was frustrated, right? And think of that, your mental health is descending, and you're pairing that now potentially with steroid abuse, right? See how these things play into each other. You've got that goal, that desperation, which is good, okay? But then you see how the steroids thing can happen, right? You can go from here, having these goals, having the desperation, to taking extra risks, right? And you can see how all this can become your identity, all right? It's a part of poor mental health and poor regulation, and of course, not understanding what's happening. So I'm telling you this because I want you to understand, and I want you to know that although I have fun, although we have a laugh, although we tease, that you listening right now, you are worth far more than what you do in the gym, right? And that's fact. So don't let a bad day in the gym, don't let a rough week in the gym, don't let a slump dictate who you are, okay? Because that's sad, and it's sad to see. You see it probably in your favorite influences from time to time. You've probably seen it over the years, and you've probably seen them come up, they take off, and then all of a sudden they disappear. Why is that? They're basing their entire identity off who they're showing you to be online through the gym, right? Through all of that. And you can take it further and say, don't base your identity off who you are online. I am well aware that I only show a certain percentage of myself to everybody. And I would say, as a realist, I'm quite open and honest compared to most people, okay? But only people closest to me really know me, okay? So don't base your entire identity off your social media personality, your experience level in the gym, or any of that. There's far more to it, and you need to know that. I think it's important. If you have any questions about that, if you struggle with that, hey, drop a comment. I'll get back to you, and I'm sure there's many people in this fantastic community here on Cold Strength that can relate and that would happily offer you some advice, right? I love seeing that in my comments. I love seeing you guys obviously communicating. I like the support, and I've seen a few negative comments here and there, and if that's you, refrain from it, man. You know what I mean? Like, I understand free speech and all that, but some things, are they constructive? Do they need to be said? No, probably not. You got better things to do too, right? It is what it is. So we're all here for support, and I want you guys to thrive, and I want you to not make the mistakes that I made. So especially if you're new to this, right? If you're coming up in the game, understand that you need to enjoy the process, okay? First and foremost, if you ever decide to take the step to the next level and you want to try performance enhancing drugs, etc., be educated, be reasonable, and have reasonable expectations, okay? And understand that you need to draw a line for yourself as to what you will not do and how far you will go with it. Because if you don't, it's a slippery slope, I promise you. And finally, as I said, don't let all of that become who you are and your identity. You are more than that, and that is the biggest mistake. I say that because it has the most detrimental effect to you as a whole, to your entire life. It can cripple you, it can cripple your life, it can affect your work, your relationships, your friendships, your happiness in general, okay? So find things outside of the gym as well to enjoy life, enjoy the gym, expect good things from yourself, be disappointed in yourself when you can do better, hold yourself to a high standard, of course, always work hard, always want to achieve more, always want to be the best version of yourself. I'm not saying anything other than that. What I'm saying is don't be negative and don't turn it into a toxic thing. Don't turn the gym into a toxic relationship, because that is something positive that you need in your life to be healthy moving forward. So I want to wrap it up with that today. I hope that it really helped. As I say, I like to help. I like to make sure that you guys are getting good information. And if there's anything you want me to cover in the future, again, I'm always open to ideas and suggestions. So please, in the comments, drop your suggestions. Tomorrow, I believe it's deadlift day. I'm feeling okay. Hopefully I'll wake up tomorrow feeling a little more fresh. Hopefully my back's a little more limber, because we have heavy deadlifts. We have a heavy single tomorrow with a pause. So we're looking at 370 kilograms plus tomorrow pause, conventional, a real deadlift. Do you know what I'm saying? If anyone was upset by my previous video and the sumo comments, I just wanted to say that I'm extremely not sorry, and I never will be. So you can swallow it, and you can find another channel if it upsets you. But if you're okay with it, I want you to stay, because it's just a joke. And I coach people to do sumo in the gym, and I give them shit at the same time. It's just some fun, man. Who really cares? We're just lifting weights. It's not that serious at the end of the day. But until next time, I think you know what to do. Go to cultstrength.square.site, buy your programs, buy your straps, wraps, and caps, or your merch, and then go to the fucking gym and rep that shit, because it looks good, and you know you want to look good like me. Let's go, baby.